In this video, we're going to theorize about who Gaia is based on content released by the Hytale team. Hello everybody, I'm Slice, and this is the story of Gaia. The story of Orbis starts with Gaia, the world's avatar. We know she carefully crafted life on Orbis, balancing it with the elements earth, lightning, water, fire, and wind. But we must ask ourselves, what is Gaia's history before she was an avatar? How did she become an avatar? Why did she create Orbis? And where is she from? To get those answers, we need to explore who she is. While the history of Gaia before she was an avatar is currently unknown, we do have references leading up until the time in which she was seen in a deep slumber. In this picture, we can see her wearing a dress consisting of symbols resembling that of the void element. And from the same concept art, we can see a separate version of Gaia. I'd like to bring attention to her eyes and her clothes. In both images, we can see Gaia wears 5 pearls in her hair representing the 5 elements. It might mean nothing, but the flowers in her hair are swapped between the two, and the pearls are not on the same ponytails. On the left, she appears to have dark mauve-colored eyes, with her facial expression being cold, calculated, and seemingly devoid of happiness. On the right, she has emerald green eyes, with her body language exuding joyfulness, happiness, and confidence. These are two very distinctively different looks for Gaia. Her description reads, "The white parts of her clothes symbolize the light, the primary element of Gaia. The green leaves represent nature. 5 pearls are overly precious magic essences that compose life on the planet: fire, lightning, water, wind, and earth." Light, the primary element of Gaia. If light is an element, then there must be a balance. We know void exists as it's in the element iconography research. Perhaps that balance is void? As we're told, we can see Orbis is displayed as having a balance of the 5 elements, and its sun looks vibrant and alive. Nexus is devoid of all light as corruption has taken over. Its sun is nowhere to be found. Tourbillon is quite literally in a critically cataclysmic state. This world has lost its sun, though it does not appear to be corrupted. Would that be because somehow Karpak has stolen the sun? We see Karpak with 2 suns, Tourbillon and Nexus with no sun, Orbis with 1, and Numdrassil with 1. Karpak's suns are yellow and red. Orbis's is yellow, and Numdrassil's is white. Numdrassil, the last of the 5, intrigues me the most. It is seemingly split between light from its sun and complete darkness. Notice no other Alterverse has one side of it shrouded in darkness. I believe this is intentional. We can see white structures jutting out from the surface surrounded by green growth at the base. These white pillars don't appear to be natural, as we can see bridges between them. Do they remind you of anything? This temple appears to be built of white stone with nature going around it and binds through it. Light shines in from all angles, with prisms directing it into a room that is blocked behind a door that appears to be sealed. We can see stairs leading down from the room above, leading to a bluish portal below. In the Temple of Gaia dungeon, we see light being directed down into a crystalline bed where Gaia is sleeping. In the background, we see a circular window that has void symbols on them. These are the same symbols we see in Gaia's dress, and the same symbols we see carved into pillars within the temple's dungeon, as well as the same symbols we see in the skies behind the Void Dragon in the trailer. We'll touch on that a little bit later. So what is Gaia's history before becoming an avatar? This is undoubtedly difficult to answer, as we have very little that suggests anything we've seen belongs to Gaia's past. I can only speculate from a few key pieces, which I'll cover as we explore. Gaia, like we will be, is an avatar. We're told as much, but as we are avatars of one world, we're also a resident of another, Orbis. With Gaia's primary element being light, I believe Gaia and Numdrassil are tightly woven together and we'll learn that through the story as we progress. Numdrassil appears to be a planet basking in a white light. Is Numdrassil's people composed of light like Orbis is composed of the 5 elements? Is Gaia ultimately a resident of Numdrassil? If all life is balanced on Orbis with the 5 elements, what balances life on Numdrassil? Well, one side of it is light, so is the other void? It is commonplace in Greek mythology that all life, all elements, came from Gaia, Mother of Earth. But what if liberties were taken with Hytale? We know that Orbis is composed of 5 elements, which come from the 5 elemental pearls that Gaia has. But where did she get those pearls? Well, we know that there is a garden of elements, and we can assume that those pearls came from those story dungeons. And we know that there's a temple of Gaia where we see Gaia in a deep slumber without the pearls in her hair. Did she create the garden of elements? Doubt it. Did she create the temple of Gaia? Again, I doubt it. This was probably a creation originally from Numdrassil. Perhaps the temple of Gaia isn't specifically hers, but it was crafted by an ancient civilization from her planet. There must be a reason she doesn't have the pearls. If Gaia doesn't have them, are they actually not hers? It begs the question, what if it was the light that created the elements and not Gaia? What if Gaia was an adventurer like us, and her journey led her down a path of finding the Garden of Elements? Maybe she conquered the trials and tribulations that the Garden of Elements put forth, and after she was successful, she was granted the powers to become an avatar. And with those powers, she created Orbis, bringing to life a new prosperous world where she was able to guide her loved ones and her fellow Numdrassillians to a sanctuary, safe from all clutches of the darkness that was destroying her home. While Gaia was hastily working on creating Orbis, a battle raged of light and darkness back and forth, slowly engulfing Numdrassil. Having experienced this destructive nature of void, Gaia knew all too well the dangers that the darkness posed, or at least she thought she did. Her subjects on Orbis would grow into many factions, all honoring Gaia in their own unique way. Gaia would frequently visit to show how much she loved and adored them all. Most factions would show their love and admiration for Gaia by erecting statues and carving effigies in her honor. Little did Gaia know, she was slowly losing a battle within herself. It is stated that light is the primary element of Gaia, not the only element. What if both light and void composed all life on her homeworld? With nature seemingly growing from light, what if corruption, like nature, grew from the darkness? After all life, regardless of origin, gives and takes to create balance, and light was seemingly losing on Numdrassil. As Orbis prospered, Gaia would grow tired. Exhausted from the work as an avatar and exhausted from the internal battle she was facing, the darkness was slowly consuming her. Realizing the state she began to find herself in, and fearing the worst, Gaia created a protective order of officers that only the most virtuous would be granted the privilege and charge with protecting Orbis. Gaia would cast away her primary elements by imbuing 2 swords that she would give to the officers of Orbis, one of light and one of nature. These swords would grant their wielders with limited power to help keep the balance on Orbis. With light and nature gone, Gaia created a tome in which she would imbue void and chained it into a dungeon on Orbis, telling no one, not even her trusted officers. Finally, she cast away the pearls, sealing them back into their dungeons. Being completely drained and having lost her abilities to continue as Avatar, she entered in an eternal slumber, resting upon a crystal bed in hopes that Numdrassil's sun would one day grant her the light again. It is here where the history of Orbis would take a dark turn. All there was time. and that is all the void would need to corrupt its surroundings. If Gaia successfully sealed away the void essence, where did the corruption on Orbis come from, and why has it breached the walls of the garden? Thankfully, it seems like the corruption has not completely consumed the garden or Gaia's temple. Gaia, laying helpless in her chamber, seems to be guarded by a sword of light. How did this sword come to be in her possession? And how did the void sword end up in the golem? These questions and more will be explored in an upcoming lore video where we'll discuss Tessa and Kairos. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, please like the video and share it. Subscribe to catch more Hytale videos in the future, and as always, thanks for chilling.